welcome to this tutorial. We're going to overview the Request to Quote feature, which allows you to enable a quote system in your e-commerce store so your customers can request a quote for the products they're interested in. Let's get started.
With this feature, you can hide prices and the Add to Cart button in your store and have a quote system where users have to add the items they're interested in to a list by clicking on Add to Quote. Once they're done adding products, they can go see the list, add information relevant to the quote here. They can see the products they added here. They can change the quantity of each item. And once they're all done, they can send the request and they'll see this thank you page confirming the request has been sent. So this has been sent to the admin who can set the pricing and then send the quote over to the user to accept or reject it. Now let's go see how you can configure this feature, set the pricing for the quote and more. So here we have several sections with options to configure. First, in quote requests, you'll find all the requests received in your shop. You will also find them in the orders page with one of the possible quote statuses. Each quote has its own order ID and username, date, status. It can be new quote request, pending, expired, accepted, or rejected quote. There's also the total, and here you have actions to edit the quote, change the status, or delete it. There are also bulk actions here to change the status of several quotes at once or delete them, and you can filter them by month, by status, and by registered customer. Let's take this last request as an example. Let's go edit it. So this user sent a quote request for this product right here. Let's go up to start managing this request. First, we have the customer info and a message if they entered any. We'll find general options for the quote to show a custom text in the email. If we enable it, we can add the text to show before the product list and after it. Then we can upload an attachment if we want to, set an expiration date for the quote. For example, let's do April 30. So after this date, this customer will not be able to buy the products at the agreed price. Then we can enter a message they would see in the quote details in my account. It's completely optional. Then we can override the payment options. We'll see the global options in a couple of minutes. But here we can choose to redirect this user to the Pay for Quote page if the billing and shipping fields are completed. Otherwise, they'll get redirected to the checkout page like any other customer who wants to pay for their order. Or you can choose whether to override the billing and shipping checkout fields of this order, the shipping cost with whatever you enter for this quote, and also lock the checkout fields so the customer cannot edit them. We can also get a test email before we officially send the quote to the customer, and even see a preview of the PDF file that we're attaching to the email. We'll see that in just a minute, but first let's scroll down, and here we have the order details and the product right here. So they basically added this custom painting to the quote, and it's time to edit the pricing and add the shipping. So you just need to click here to edit the pricing. The original price is $104.99. In this case, we're going to offer a small discount. Let's make it $100 total. You can add a custom meta here that will be shown in the PDF file, cart, and checkout. Anything you add here needs to start like this. So let's say this is a special deal, and the deal is $4.99 off. There we go. And you can also add products, add fees, and add shipping. Let's do that. Let's add the shipping. You can select the shipping right here. Let's do free shipping. There we go. We're going to save. Great. So they get the $4.99 discount, the free shipping, and the total is $100. This is what we're going to offer to this user. Let's see a preview of the PDF file. Great. So this is the template that I'm using right now. We're going to see soon how we can change that. But here we have the product, the special deal. So this is the custom meta, the total price. And here we have the subtotal, the discount, shipping, and the customer will be able to click here to accept and pay for this order at the agreed price, or click here to reject it. Now let's go back. And of course, once you're all done, don't forget to send the quote by clicking here. Now let's go back. And by clicking here, you can create a new quote. This is basically the same we just saw, but we would be creating a new quote from scratch where we would need to enter all the info and the options, set the order details here, and enter the product and pricing here. Let's go back. And by clicking here, we can export a complete list of all the quote requests into a CSV file. Now let's go over to general options. So here you'll find options to decide who can see the Add to Quote button. You can make it visible to all users, only to specific roles, only to logged in users, or only to guest users. Then you get to choose how to use the exclusion list here. Here you can enter specific products to exclude from the add to quote option, and here you can decide how to use it. You can show the add to quote option on all products except the ones in the exclusion list, or the other way around. You can show it only on the products you added to the exclusion list. Then you have a couple more options to manage the add to quote option on out of stock products, and to decide if you want to show it on product pages, WooCommerce pages, and blogs. And here you can decide if you want to hide the add to cart button and prices. That way users will need to request a quote in order to buy the products that are published in your shop. This applies to all products. Here's an option to show the add to quote button in the cart to convert the content into a quote request. Same here for the checkout page. And here's what users will see after clicking on add to quote. They can see a link to access the quote request. That's what we saw at the start of the video, or they can be automatically redirected to the list. Then, in customization, you'll find options to configure the style of the buttons and the labels. Here, for example, you get to choose whether the add to quote option will be a button or a link. If you choose button, you'll be able to select the colors. Same for the request a quote option, and the accept and pay and reject options users will get when we send them the quote. Here you can set some labels, and here you can decide if you want to use the default loader or upload a custom one. Same for the widget icon. We're using the default one. Let me show it to you. Let's add the product to the quote there. So here we have the widget. This is the default icon. Users can hover over this widget to see the items that are added to the quote and to delete them or view the quote list. And as you can see, there's a count of items in the quote. Let's go back, and you can enable this option to load any cacheable quote items by Ajax. Now let's go up. Under request quote page, you'll find two subsections. In page options, you can choose a page where users will see the products they add to the quote request. There's a default page you can use, or you can select a different one, but you need to make sure you insert this shortcode there. And here you can decide if the products there will be listed to the left and the form to the right, like this. Here's the product list to the left and the form to the right. Let's go back. Or you can choose to have the product list above and the form below. Let's select this, save, and let's go see it. There, the product list is at the top and the form below. Back. You can also decide if the form will be visible even if there are no products in the list. You have the title before the form. You can decide what to show in the product table. Right now we have product images and quantity, but you could also show prices, SKU, and more. Below, you'll find options to show a return to shop button on the quote request page, so users can go back and keep browsing the shop. You can also show update and clear list buttons. You can show a view PDF button so users can download the quote list as a PDF. And last, you can decide what to show after the request is sent. You can show users a specific thank you page, which you can select here. You can show a detailed page of the request, or you can enter a simple text to show. If you select this option, you can enter the text, and you'll also have options for the return to shop link for this specific option. Now, in form options, you can configure the request to quote form. If you keep the default form selected, you will be able to configure advanced fields below so you can ask your users any type of information you need to evaluate their quote request. Right now, we have a text field for the first name, and it's connected to the billing first name in WooCommerce. We have an email field so they can enter their emails. Both of these fields are required and they cannot be disabled. The rest of the fields are not required and they can be disabled. We can edit, duplicate, delete, or move each field if we want to change the order, like this. And you can add any fields you want to here by clicking on Add Field. You can name the field, select the type. It can be text, email, radio buttons, even upload, so you can have users upload files, and more. If you select, for example, upload, you'll be able to enter the extensions allowed, the maximum file size, the field's position, whether validation is needed. You can validate the field to make sure there's a phone number, an email, or a file there. Let's choose file. You can make it required, and once you're all done, you can click on Add Field to Form. Then below, there are some form options to decide how to manage user registration in the quote request form. You can enable the reCAPTCHA option to prevent spam. You can have the fields connected to WooCommerce automatically completed by enabling this option, and you can set the date and time picker formats. Then, under quote options, you'll find 5 subsections. In quote settings, you'll find global settings to decide what happens when a user sends a quote request. You can manage quotes like we saw by getting an order with the new quote request status and also get the email, or you can just get the email. You can set an expiration time for all the quotes here, or just decide if you'll do that when setting each quote as we saw before. You can enable this option to add a default shipping fee to all the quotes, and this one to add multiple shipping costs. And here you can enable automatic quotes. This is a great option if you just want to hide prices and send users the actual prices set for your products only if they request a quote. To make it more realistic, you could enter a couple of hours here instead of sending it immediately after they send the request. But if you do want it to be sent immediately, you can enter 0 here. Then you can enable these options to show the accept and reject buttons in the email they'll get with the quote and in my account. And here you can enable this option to block the cart content so they cannot add more products or make any changes to the cart when they're accepting a quote. And last, you can decide if all the payment gateways you have enabled in your shop will be available to pay for quotes or if only specific methods are allowed. For example, here we have direct bank transfer as the only accepted gateway to pay for quotes. Then in Quote PDF, you can configure the PDF settings. First, you can enable this option to allow quotes to be downloaded as PDF files from my account. You can set the PDF name here. You can either use this placeholder to enter a random number, or you can use this placeholder to enter the actual number of the quote. You can choose to hide the product list in the email content when the PDF quote is attached. You can enable this option to attach the PDF file also to the email. And here you can decide what template to use. There's a default template you can use. By selecting this option, you'll be able to select the layout, add the logo, set the info text. You can choose what information to show in the product list. You can have all the product information or choose to only show thumbnails, name, unit price, quantity, or product subtotal. You can hide the total price row. You can show the accept and reject links. You can add an optional text to the footer, and you can enable pagination. But if you choose create and choose a custom template, you'll see this section, Quote PDF templates, where you can configure the custom template. And here's where you can choose which template you want to use after configuring it. Right now we're using this template. We have all these 3 to choose from. So let's go ahead and see how you can create custom templates. So you'll find all the templates here, and this one is the one that's in use. You can edit them, duplicate them, delete them, or click here to use them. And you can click here on PDF template to create a new one. So we have the default template here, and we have these 8 custom templates we can choose to start setting up a custom template. For example, let's see this one. There we go. So it has a logo. You can see the product list. You can see the accept and pay and reject options, terms and conditions, total. You have the quote number here, the customer info. Let's choose this one. There we go. So you can choose any of these custom templates to start creating your own template. And you can of course move this around, change the information here, decide what you want to show. We have the product table. Here you'll find options to set what you want to show in the product table. For example, here thumbnails are disabled, but let's enable them. There we go. We can hide the SKU. You'll also find options for the total table. You can add more blocks here and completely set up your own custom template. And of course, don't forget to enter a title to identify the template. And once you're all done, you can publish and use them for your quotes. So now let's go over to quotes in my account. So here you'll find options for the quote endpoint in my account. You have the labels customers will see. You can enter a default text to show in all new quote requests. For example, here we're thanking the user for the request and we're letting them know that we usually reply within 3 business days. You can choose to hide product prices in all new quote details, show the order again button, and show the ask new quote button for the same list of products they already requested a quote for. And then in quote payment, you can configure the quote payment settings. Here is the global option to redirect users to the pay for quote page if the billing and shipping fields are filled, or to the default checkout if those fields are empty. These are the global settings, but you can override them inside every quote's individual settings. You can choose if you want to override the checkout fields. You can choose not to do that. You can choose to override billing and shipping info, only billing or only shipping. You can override shipping cost with the ones applied to the quote. And you can lock the editing of the checkout fields. And last, let's go over to the exclusion list. As we saw before, the exclusion list is very useful if you want to exclude some products from the quote request feature. Here you can add products, categories, or tags to exclude. Let's add an exclusion. Let's do a product now. And let's do the custom bride dress. Add exclusion. So this will depend on your configuration. As we saw, we can either exclude the products added here from the add to quote option, or do it the other way around and only add that option for the products added here. In my case, I have this set up to exclude the products in this list, so customers will not be able to add this product to a quote because we're excluding it right now. Let's go see that in the shop, and there we go. So this product does not have the add to quote option, but the other ones do. And that's it. That's how easy it is to configure the options and add the quote request feature to your e-commerce store.
Okay, so you can configure and use this feature. See you soon in the next video tutorial.